Welcome to the GCN show.
Coming up this week, what causes road rage between cyclists and drivers? We asked a transport historian and he's managed to make sense of a very chaotic situation.
We've also got seismic transfers in the US crit scene. No one paid for all that Haribo. Some strange new core exercises being promoted in the World Tour. And potentially the end to GCN presenters getting dehydrated.
Can't find the oasis. I've had to stop under the shade.
Yeah. Although I do have to say, Dan worked that one out years ago.
I've had at least 8 mineral waters myself.
I've had at least 8 mineral waters.
This week in the world of cycling, we learned that the bike industry crisis is deepening. Legendary mountain bike brand Orange have gone into administration, and the administrators who were called in to deal with online retail giant Wiggle have been releasing some of the data.
Including who they owe money to, the biggest being Taiwanese company Axeman at 1.6 million.
Ooh.
We think they have been making own brand products,
Yes.
but also, shock horror, Haribo.
Yeah, you know those little bags of sweets that came with your order? Yeah. 20 grand's worth is still unpaid.
That is a lot. That's a lot of Haribo.
That is a lot of Haribo, isn't it?
We've also learned that Dan's evangelicizing about upper body exercises has begun to catch on in the pro peloton. Although I'm not entirely sure people have quite got the hang of it.
No, so here we can see in a reel from Lotto Destiny pro Micah Docks, 2 of her teammates doing some very solid chin-ups, but without getting off their bikes.
Seems like the perfect cross training. So
Well, maybe.
I am impressed with that. As for Soudal Quickstep, well, I'm not entirely sure what Julian Alaphilippe and Paul Magny are up to here.
I mean, it looks like some kind of mutant creature from a sci-fi series. I'm thinking The Witcher, if anyone's seen that. I would suggest we'd have a go at that, Connor, but frankly, the weight of my ankles on your shoulders, I think you might end up with quite a nasty injury.
I'd like to try it.
Do make sure you check out Soudal Quickstep's Instagram, by the way. They've got some great reels on there from their training camp, including Remco in a planking competition, which is as impressive as his cycling, basically.
Do love a planking competition. Finally, we learned this week why there is so much anger felt by drivers towards cyclists following a brilliant article on the GCN website. James Howell-Jones interviewed a transport historian, Peter Norton, who's an associate professor at the University of Virginia and author. In the following interview, explains how aggressive driving is the result of design, why its roots are deeply embedded and the history behind this, and what can be done to rectify it.
A lot of what looks like aggressive driving, and really is aggressive driving, isn't merely the result of a driver who is impatient or entitled. It's also the reflection of an environment that is saying, not in words, but in design, that this space is for you, the driver. This space is designed for you to meet your needs and to make it possible for you to drive, and not just drive, but drive fast without having to pay a lot of attention. Now, that's a signal to a driver that driver can therefore pay less attention, go faster, and even it's an invitation even to feel annoyed at having to slow down for a cyclist or a pedestrian, because that cyclist or pedestrian's use of the street appears contradictory to what the design is saying. The design is saying this place is for you, the motorist, to drivers. Now, there's another aspect of this that may be even tougher, and that aspect is the fact that generations have now grown up learning that the street is for automobiles, to the point that you'll find pedestrians often where they have the right-of-way refusing to exercise the right-of-way merely because they've been so successfully trained that the street is always for the motorist. So that's a deep psychological effect. It reminds me very much of something that I've heard Germans say about the Berlin Wall, where after the wall went down, they would say, well, the physical wall is down, but the wall in our minds is still there. And so this is a wall in the minds of drivers. It's a wall in the mind of cyclists and the wall in the mind of pedestrians. And undoing that is a tougher task. I think you're seeing the hostility that you always see whenever human beings have to compete for the same essential resource. So if food is scarce, people fight over food. If fresh drinking water is scarce, people will fight over fresh drinking water. Well, if safe, usable street capacity is scarce, people will fight over that too. And in that spirit, it's very interesting, and people have really forgotten this, that the original conflict involving cyclists in streets was between cyclists and pedestrians. There was incredible antagonism, especially in the 1890s, between cyclists and pedestrians. And there was constant discussion in the newspapers about reflecting real anger between these two groups, because that was where the competition for the shared space was intense. Well, that kind of competition is what we're seeing now between cyclists and drivers, and relieving it will take making sure that cyclists have safe places to cycle, because what we're really seeing here is the legacy of a traffic engineering judgment that the bicycle is a vehicle and that it belongs in the street, while at the same time the street is to be designed to meet the driver's needs, not the cyclists. This is why, for example, we expect a cyclist to come to a full stop at every stop sign, even if they have some momentum, they're going on an upgrade, they still have to stop, which is very costly on a cyclist. And the reason why that cost is totally disregarded is that the stop sign decision was made by people thinking only of drivers. So when we have streets where the design has the cyclist in mind from the beginning, and where the space is allocated such that the cyclist has a safe place to bike and the driver is accommodated, that conflict can subside. That's not a hypothesis, that's a fact, because we have seen that in those places where those conditions actually have been met, most remarkably, of course, in the Netherlands. Many of your listeners will have heard of the idea of the traffic pyramid. Imagine a triangle, and we put at the top of the triangle the transportation modes that we prioritize, the ones we favor most. And we put at the bottom of the triangle those modes that we disfavor. And the traffic pyramid of a century ago had walking at the top, cycling and trams came a little below that, and drivers were at the bottom. That pyramid was reversed. So we're talking there for about revolutionary change, not evolutionary change. I think the lesson we take from that historical example is that evolutionary change today will not be sufficient. In other words, our task is not to make the inverted traffic pyramid work, but rather to restore the traffic pyramid to its original orientation by inverting the orientation that it has now. The number one blocker right now is the people who have a business interest in keeping the pyramid where it is are fighting hard to keep it that way. There is a lot of money to be made selling battery electric passenger cars, and there's a lot more money to be made doing that than in, say, promoting walking, which is not a very profitable enterprise, or even promoting cycling. Cycling, of course, is a little more profitable, but nothing compared to selling a passenger car with a battery. And because of that business interest, the most conspicuous, the most visible, the most prominent images of the future that we have to get to do not show us people walking everywhere, cycling everywhere, or taking trams and buses everywhere. They show us people, often alone, in a passenger car with a battery.
Wow, in part both inspiring, that it feels like the solution is at least a simple one, even if the task is monumental.
Yeah, Professor Norton was ultimately optimistic though. He likened the current situation on the roads to 1960s tobacco firms who well knew the risks associated with their products, but who continued on regardless until public opinion and that of governments, crucially, began to sway against them.
True. Now, far fewer people smoke, and given the stats about road safety and the climate emergency, few people can ignore the issues caused by carcinocentric cultures.
Well, we are collectively doing quite a good job of it. aren't we? Ignoring the issues. There was some really chilling news coming from a team of researchers from Belgium last week. Okay, so they quantified the risk factors associated with certain attributes of cars, right? So including the weights of the cars, power, age, and so forth. And there are some stats from that research that are really relevant to pedestrians and cyclists.
For example, if a pedestrian or a cyclist is hit by a pickup truck, for example, rather than a small car, their risk of fatal injuries increases by 200%.
That's absolutely mind-blowing, isn't it? To think that, like, people buy a pickup truck because it's a lifestyle thing, basically. But actually, if you're in an accident, you're 200% more likely to kill someone that you hit.
Yeah.
I mean, that is staggering, isn't it? And even seemingly subtle things like the bonnet/hood height. So if you get hit by a vehicle whose hood is just 10 centimetres higher than the average bonnet height, the risk of death increases by 30%.
It's mad how we've gone down this road.
Yeah.
The worst bit is the cars are just getting bigger and bigger too,
Yeah.
and more and more powerful, which seems crazy that it's allowed.
Well, it does really, doesn't it? Yeah, when the statistics are that stark.
Yeah, the answer has to be some kind of legislation to protect drivers as well as a segregated cycle lanes to protect bike riders.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, because what we didn't say is that the stats for other car drivers, little car versus big car, I mean, it's similarly stark. I mean, the good thing, I guess, is that phrase, what is it? Build it and they will come. I mean, that is true, isn't it? The website, the Riot Act, had a cool little story last week about how Canberra in Australia has slowly become the cycling capital, as well as the actual capital of that country. They got their first bike path there, apparently, in 1973, despite having very few cyclists.
Now they have over 1,000 kilometres of bike paths, and that original one had to be widened in 2014 to cope with the number of daily users.
Which is great, isn't it? I often feel like it's only cycling utopias like the Netherlands or Denmark that manage this incredible transformation from car-centric to bike-centric. But it can be done, and it's important to remember that it is being done.
Yeah. What do you think, though? Let us know down in the comment section below. Get involved in the debate.
Yeah. I'd be interested to know whether people think that Professor Norton has hit the nail on the head here. Because certainly when I read the article on the GCN website, that was my perception. I was like, oh my God, he has just made sense of all of this. But lots and lots of different opinions out there about the situation on the roads. So get involved. Be super interested to read it.
And now it's time for cycling shorts.
It's now time for cycling shorts, and we're going to start with the news that Orbea have announced that they are partnering with the Lotto Destiny team, which is super cool, isn't it? Because we haven't seen what the bikes are going to look like yet, nor, geekily, which of either the Superlight Orca or the Orca Aero the team riders are going to be using.
Yeah, I'll be really interested to see, actually.
Yeah.
And in more pro cycling news, US Pro Criterium heavyweight Corey Williams has made a move away from the legendary Legion of LA team, which is co-founded with his brother to rival Miami Blazers.
He's made the switch to the Blazers, hasn't he? I'd think there would be some kind of brotherly bust-up to have precipitated that, were it not for the fact that the Blazers were actually also set up by the Williams brothers. But either way, I think it's a great move to hopefully break some of the Legion dominance, inject a little bit of rivalry, although perhaps not too much rivalry given what's happened there in the past.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to seeing some of the crit races this year.
Absolutely, yeah.
Over to the gravel world now, and the lottery for entries to the Garmin Unbound Gravel Race opens last week, and you have until the 20th of January to throw your hat into the ring, with entries announced on the 25th of January.
Now, after last year, when
go.
Connor nearly died,
I'm there, really, really bad. Can't find the oasis.
I know. I didn't nearly die. I was in control of the situation. No, I wasn't.
all right, you certainly made a meal out of the situation. Anyone would have thought you'd been marooned in the Sahara for at least a fortnight,
was in a
not
bad way.
that you'd cycled. Was it 80 miles or was it a bit less?
It's a bit more, I think. I think it's a bit more. I was in a bad way. The heat of the day got me, but I just love Unbound. It's such a cool race.
Well, anyway, some good news from here at GCN anyway. GCN presenters will be far better prepared this year because we partnered up with Precision Fuel and Hydration.
Yeah, they'll also supply Lotto Destiny as it happens.
Oh, that's cool.
But in the first instance, they've been tasked with sorting out me and Alex with our hydration issues.
I'm in a bit of a bad way, actually.
Which I'm really genuinely interested in.
I'm really genuinely interested as well. What is wrong with you two?
Yeah, I mean, when I was racing, I did actually used to finish each race would be craving salty foods. I used to like get through a big Pringles can.
You used to have a can of Pringles after every race.
Well, not every race, but yeah, sometimes. I don't know. I mean, I was like grazing in the bus, and I just loved salty nuts, Pringles. Oh, it's so good.
Well, I tell you what, because the interesting thing was, so Precision said that they tested Lloydie years ago, like back in like 2010 or something, and Dan is like the least salty sweater, which explained why when he went to the Giro d'Italia first time, he put on something like 7 kilos in weight because he was eating so much salt, because that's what he was told to do, but he didn't need it, so he just swelled up like a balloon. He had 7 kilos of water that he lugged around the Dolomites. I know, mad, isn't it?
Mad.
So yeah.
They are coming to do a sweat test on us, so we can see exactly what we need to do to stop any of these shenanigans happening in the first place.
Yeah, so I think they're the only brand with hydration tabs with different salt concentrations, because, as we've just seen, how salty you are varies massively from person to person. So yeah, it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, I'm really interested for that, and hopefully I'll save some money on buying cans of Pringles.
Well, hopefully for your body and your guts, you won't be buying cans of Pringles as well. At least have a salty peanut, mate. Not a Pringle. Anyway, there we go. Now, before we leave Cycling Shorts for this week, a reminder that our 30 in 30 challenge is still rolling on. If you've missed a day, don't worry about it. I missed a day getting back into work last week. But otherwise, I've kept on going. But remember, 30 in 30 challenge is ongoing. Join the GCN Strava Club. Share your rides and your whatever, your runs. Swims, yeah. Don't ride, swim and run in the same thing though, because that's called a triathlon, and we don't, there's a slippery slope down that way. And of course, remember as well that, we do, don't we?
We do, yeah.
Everyone's welcome to the GCN show. But no, you can join us on Zwift as well, can't you? So every day, a GCN presenter will be leading a Zwift ride, okay? So there's 2 Zwift rides each day. I think most of them have got a presenter on them, haven't they? So join the GCN club on Zwift, and then all the GCN-led rides will be there. Important to note, they are non-drop rides, okay? So you ride at whatever power you want, and you'll stay in the group, which is wicked. But I didn't know that first time, and so I didn't tell anyone. This was on January the 1st, and after 25 minutes, people are like, "Oh my God, I'm about to die. This is the hardest ride ever." And basically, on a non-drop ride, you literally ride as hard as you can, and yet you constantly feel like you're about to get dropped until you know that you can ride as easy as you can and you won't get dropped. And loads of people have basically been stuck on like a hamster wheel. But anyway, come and join, because it's wicked, and there's great bands flying around.
Fun. I led one last night.
Did you?
Yeah, 200 people riding along on Zwift. It was great.
That's super cool, man. Did you have mega bands?
We had mega bands, yeah.
Good stuff,
Sweaty
mate.
thumbs.
Some people are unbelievable at how they can type.
I would like to know how you manage to type so well, because I struggle. My phone just goes haywire as soon as I start messaging.
And I bet as well that sweat on your phone is salty.
It. There we go.
It?
So
Really
maybe
salty.
Precision are going to help me solve my typing issues. Right, now it's time for hack/bodge.
That's right. Do remember, by the way, that in the absence of the GCN app, you can upload your photos equally simply using the uploader, which is just a link basically under this video, isn't it? And you go through that, and super easy. Upload your photos there. Keep them coming in, because it's an absolute highlight for us, isn't it?
It is.
Right, who started it off this week, Connor?
Patrick Groover. My brother built himself a simple rocker for his Wahoo kicker. Weights can be distributed for smooth, even side-to-side rocking. Beginners beware, requires some balancing practice.
Ah! Look at that! That's absolutely bonkers, isn't it? Why would you...
I'd be right. I mean, if we gave this to Andrew Feather, he'd be bouncing to France on it.
They would,
He'd be bouncing along on that. It'd be like a hopping bunny.
How are you supposed to balance on that?
Well,
Because your wheels aren't moving. You can't balance.
You'd have to shift your weight, wouldn't you? And then I reckon if you put the power down too much, you'd literally just... I've fallen off a trainer before.
Like I said, bodge. I'm sorry, hang on a minute. No, I nearly missed that. You've fallen off the trainer.
Yeah. Well, I was like going really hard, and my water bottle was a bit far away, so I was like, I'll just like go over there. And you do fall off it. It does tip. You have to be careful. that was me down.
I tell you what, I bet you could do some damage to your bike.
Oh yeah, and yourself.
Yeah.
I'm 6'8", so.
Yeah, and the house then probably as well, I guess.
Straight through the wall.
Oh my word! Right now, I'm going to say that's a bit of a bodge, actually. I don't like the idea of undamped springs underneath my trainer. So
I'm going hack. I think it might make things a little more comfortable. I'm for anything that makes indoor training interesting.
I don't have a problem with like rockers. You know, it's great that the trains have got a bit more movement in these days, but I don't feel like I'm craving more.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like a bit of movement. It stops me getting chafage down below.
Yeah, well, fair enough, mate. Yeah, that's a reason enough. All right, so a bodge from me, hack from you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. All right, well, next up, we got this one from James Loves Bikes. He also loves tan wool tyres, especially my old Vittoria Corsa. So now it's done, it's time on the bike. It can now do some time as my hand-stitched wallet. Wow, look at that.
I mean, it looks really cool. I would just be worried my cards would fall out, but maybe it's designed well enough so that...
Do you know what? Because I do think it looks cool, and I too love a tan wool tyre. But the trouble is that rubber is grippy for a reason, isn't it?
Oh, that's true as well.
And so, like, you don't want traction from your wallet when you're putting it in and out your pocket, because obviously you don't want it to fall out, but equally you don't want it to not go in the first instance.
Unless you live in a high crime area, then it's not going anywhere. Pickpockets will have a nightmare.
Well, I suppose James has unwittingly invented the unpickpocketable wallet, is what we're saying. Basically.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's a hack from me.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a hack, actually. I've given it closer inspection. I think it's pretty neat.
Yeah, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Nice one.
we're keeping it tight for this week, aren't we? Just two. One hacky bodge and one hack.
One hack,
All right. Do keep them coming. Like I said, under this video, the description, that's what it's called.
Side's just fallen off his trainer.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's weird, isn't it, when you say the same thing over and over again, it loses all meaning. Under this video, in the description, there is a link to the GCN uploader, so don't forget it. When you've got a hack or a bodge, get involved. Alex Payton actually sent us this zip tie hack this week, which is revolting. So actually, it's a massive bodge. This was Alex trying to get his Wahoo head unit on his TT bike at last minute notice when he absolutely schooled Ollie Bridgewood in a time trial at the weekend.
Zip ties are handy though, just for any situation in life that crops up. Just use a zip tie.
For a temporary solution, yes, just not a permanent one. That's a thing we've established.
Prodding him.
It's time now for, what is it?
Caption competition.
Thanks,
side.
mate. It's now time for Caption Competition, that part of the show where you get a chance to get your hands on a coveted GCN Camelback water bottle. Although, as discussed last week, we have placeholders currently because the GCN ones are being made as we speak, which is exceedingly exciting.
Yeah, very exciting.
Right, as always, we will start the results from last week first, where we gave you this picture of Matthew van der Poel looking especially statuesque, I think, on the podium.
Yeah.
Nice lighting.
Looking quite serene.
Like someone out of a Rocky film.
Yeah, that is a way I have never been described in all my life.
Well, like the rest of us, not that familiar with podiums, really.
Well, I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, the winner. What do you reckon, Si?
Well, this one jumped out at us, didn't it? From Daniel Gauss, I think that is how you pronounce his surname. MVDP considers sporting a spit curl to complement his mullet. Do you want to do some explaining? Just in case people don't know what a spit curl
Van
is.
der Poel did get in a bit of hot water for spitting.
€260 fine, I read.
And a spit curl, I believe, is when you spit and you kind of do something with your hair. It's like that thing you see in movies in Greece or something, isn't it?
Yes. Well, there you go. I like that.
Yeah, good little twist.
Yeah, I like that. So well done, Daniel. Get in touch and your GCN Camelback water bottle will be winging its way to you just as soon as we've made them. Or as soon as Camelback have made them and we've received them, I guess. Right. This week, here is the image for you to get your teeth stuck into. That is Tom Pidcock.
Yeah,
I don't know what he's up to, really.
Yeah, so he was actually winning the race. This is back in December in the Mer.
Oh, you've dug out from the archives.
Yes,
okay.
an archival one. I did like it.
Yeah, okay. Can I have a go?
Go on then, Si.
Right.
You go for it this week.
No, Tom, have you not learnt? Matthew van der Poel's the other way.
I like it. Everyone's just waiting for Matthew van der Poel to arrive.
They are basically. You know, I read an article on Escape Collective, yesterday. Matthew van der Poel, apparently, according to Joe Lindsay, who wrote the article, his win rate in cyclocross is at like 79% or something like that. Can you imagine that? Winning nearly 80% of all races you turn up to. I mean, like, it's completely alien to me.
Yeah. I mean, what more must he feel like when he loses?
Well, interestingly, I think so. His podium rate is a bit more, but I suspect there's a stat about him. It was like 89% of all races, like he's podiumed in.
That's mad.
But I bet the other 11% he's DNF'd. Like how many times have you seen Van der Poel not on a podium? He just gives up, doesn't he? Because he's like, wow, there'll be another race along soon.
That's bonkers. I remember all my podiums fondly. the few of them that happened.
I can as well, yeah. I can count them on one hand.
Yeah. But let us know your capture competition for this brilliant photo of Tom Pidcock, one of the rare cyclocross races this year which Van der Poel didn't win. Time for comment of the week now, starting with last week's GCN show.
Yeah, okay. We've got this one from Josh Fleetwood. Answering the question, further or faster, which is your goal? Josh said, I've changed my targets from distance to time-based. Last year they were distance-based and I found myself favouring the road bike over the mountain bike just because I always had that target on the back of my mind. Now with them being time-based, it's all about the quality of the ride, not the quality of the kilometres. Yes, Josh, that's what I think as well. It doesn't matter what bike you're on as long as you're in a saddle.
Yeah, that's
basically.
it. Sometimes it's just about getting out there.
Totally.
100%.
Cheers
ahead. Right, next up, master the track stand with these simple tips. IBN, Chuckada, got in touch. I can track stand forever on my indoor bike. Zwift needs to establish an achievement bag.
Well, yeah, I'd say that we can all do that, apart from Connor.
Apart from me. I can't do anything apart from bang my head on door frames.
No, you're in good company. I heard Brandley Wiggins fell off a treadmill at British Cycling. No, I'd probably get over 2 decades ago at about 50k an hour because his towel got caught in his front wheel at, like when he was going full gas and it just went. So yeah, he stacked it. I mean, technically it's a treadmill, not an indoor trainer.
Yeah.
But anyway, there we go. Can you imagine that? You're just in a quiet laboratory, Brandon Wiggins doing his thing in a corner, and suddenly, bang, as this bike flies off and hits the wall at top speed.
I've always wanted to try one of those on the bike.
Treadmill.
I haven't tried it yet.
Oh, they're so good.
I'd like to try it.
It is absolutely amazing. Yeah, that would be the ultimate pain cave if you had enough space and money for a treadmill. They are good.
We need to get one in GCN HQ. Let's make it happen, Cycle.
Right, we've digressed now, haven't we?
Yeah,
I don't know where we are.
We have Frank 196906 got in touch too. You can do it with any bike having 2 wheels. With Hank's great experience with recumbent bikes, I want to see it next time on a recumbent.
Well, yeah, Hank is not very good at balancing on recumbents at the best of times, is he? Underneath are 2 short bike rides better than 1 long one. Caleb Jackson said, I just got into cycling early last summer and my entire riding training plan was split days via commuting. In the morning, I would have 15 to 20 minute zone 3 and 4 ride. Then on the way home, if I had time, I would extend it out to as much as a 1 hour ride. I was honestly surprised how quickly my fitness increased. I'm not surprised. That kind of riding is so... Well, firstly, it's great fun. Secondly, it gets you super duper fit. So yeah, and commuting is the best way of doing split days for sure.
It is, sure. Matt Gredig got in touch too. Started doing this a few months ago. Doubled my mileage, reduced fatigue and aches. 1 hour at 6 a.m, 1 hour at 6 p.m. Made heat more tolerable as well. Highly recommend. Thanks for doing this vid GCM.
Oh, that's cool. Nice one. Thanks for that, Matt. Then under Connor's cracking video about a 100-kilometre bike ride, could it change his mind on flat pedals? 10 Scary Monkeys said, my wife and I did around 400k in Japan over the course of a week this summer, all on flats. 0 complaints. It let us vary foot position to avoid muscle fatigue and meant we could randomly hop off the bikes to explore without having to consider whether our shoes could handle the terrain. Yeah?
Yeah, thanks for that. I mean, I was really interested to do the experiment myself, and I definitely surprised myself too because I've used clipless pedals for so long now. It's just kind of almost second nature. So I was a bit nervous of what it would feel like to go to flats, but really there wasn't too much of a difference for that sort of ride. And it was so great to hear from all you guys too who like to use flats when you're out on your bike. And it really is a brilliant option. If that's what works for you, then go for it.
Yeah, I think I'm like you, mate. I feel slightly like indoctrinated into clipless pedals, but actually when you look at the stats and the research and stuff, it's like, oh, that'll be alright.
I think our opinion's also been swayed by the fact that we associate riding flats with doing it with just like normal trainers and like those cheap kind of plastic pedals, whereas if you just go for a metal pedal with pins and maybe a bit more of a cycling specific shoe, it makes a massive difference.
Yeah.
And really that is quite comparable to a cycling specific clipless shoe.
Also, we come from a racing background, don't we?
Yeah.
And the thought of turning up to a bike race without clipless pedals actually is the stuff of nightmares. I mean, I literally had nightmares about forgetting shoes at bike races.
Yeah, me too.
I remember doing one race in northern France, and there was a lad in the bunch wearing trainers, gaffer taped to his clipless pedals because he'd
I've seen
obviously
that.
forgotten, and he just had like tears rolling down his cheeks because he was so sad.
Oh god.
Anyway, there we go. That's why we're slightly wedded to our clipless pedals. Anyway, and then underneath, oh, this was a good video, mate. What do we have to do to break the 1 kilo world record? Slow-mo said, doing that on a wet and winding descent in the middle of winter is absolutely bonkers, typical Hank style. Which is kind of disregarding the fact that you were there too.
I was there too. I think I was the more sensible one on the day.
You were slightly more sensitive.
It must be added that I would say whatever Hank does is not something any of us should try and copy.
No, that is true. And then Ian Thompson said, disc wheel, aero helmet, and slipstreaming a Land Rover punching a big hole in the air in front of you. Forgot to mention that a little bit. But there wasn't a Land Rover in front of him, was there?
No Land Rover.
We don't film with Land Rovers. No, so guess again. But yeah, there was a bit of slipstreaming.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of slipstream employed by Hank. Me, no.
Not at all.
But I mean, it is mad. That speed is the world record. He's doing that from a standstill in a velodrome, which is just pure madness.
It's absolutely mind-numbing, isn't it? Absolutely mind-numbing. Right, we're nearly at the end of the GCN show. If you've got thus far, you get your weekly medal. We should have like a badge, like a Strava badge, shouldn't we? Like some kind of endurance effort. You could have done your 30 and 30 for today.
That's true, yeah.
Pedalling along to this or doing some stretching or something
you wouldn't
like
have
that.
been. You need to concentrate on my sweaty messaging. So I don't know if you can do two at the same time.
I tell you what, that needs context, doesn't it? Because if you just tuned in, Connor's sweaty messaging.
I find it hard to message on Zwift with my sweaty thumbs.
Thank you for clarifying.
Looking for a solution.
Otherwise,
Maybe
everyone else
thumb gloves.
Sweaty messaging. Right, anyway, before you go, what's coming up on GCN this week? Quickly run you through it. On Wednesday, top 10 mistakes every new cyclist makes in winter. Thursday, how to not get dropped on a climb. Friday, I had a lot of fun making this. Does endurance actually improve with age?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching this.
Yeah,
I'm hoping it gives me something to cling on to.
Oh, it really surprised me, actually, mate. Really surprised me. Physiological, mental, experience. We talk about wisdom.
There we go. Right,
Honestly,
I'm bound. I'm coming back for you in 5 years' time.
Yeah. Endurance improves with age. Hydration improves with practice.
With practice, yeah.
Okay.
Practice.
And then just to finish things off, on Saturday, Epic Climbs, we're back in Tucson with the amazing Mount Lemon, which is on my bucket list now.
Yeah.
It's got to be said. And then on Sunday, how long will it actually take to burn off a Big Mac? This is quite a contentious topic, this one. But anyway, I've been diving into the science and did a little practical experiment to work it out. So yeah, make sure you tune in for that one.
I reckon you absolutely smashed it, didn't you? And then,
Smash the Big Mac.
but I reckon you smashed the Big Mac and then the ride. Then you went back for another one.
Well, you'll have to tune in and find out exactly what happened. Right, anyway, thanks so much for joining us this week.
Thanks, everyone.
We are off to Girona.
Yeah, we've literally got a flight to catch, so off we go. And somehow I've got to figure out how to get a 25 kilo weighted vest on a plane. So
Manon put something in a WhatsApp group to explain. I haven't clicked on it yet.
I know, I'm about to read it now because I'm going to figure out my solution on the taxi.
I think Manon has the answer.
Right, Manon always has the answer. Thanks, everyone.
See ya.